All right, the first round of the college football playoff is over. What happened? I mean, a lot of them were snooze fests. We know that. But let's just kind of go through them. I'll go kind of bottom up because I think that's more in order. I was going to do it in order, but here on ESPN, they have the bracket, not in order of which the games were played, but we'll start with Notre Dame, Indiana Hoosiers. I made a mistake in picking Indiana. A mistake I will not make again. And I probably should have known that because usually that first time team that gets in the Cinderella story, and you can say they were a Cinderella story, I guess, whatever. But Cinderella doesn't pan out in college football. It doesn't happen all that often. Usually Cinderella is an ugly fraud. That's usually how it works in college football. So I mean, Notre Dame controlled every aspect of this. The thing that sucked about this game is you had such a high and low range of where Indiana could be, and you had such a high and low range of where Notre Dame could be. This game and the outcome of this game, 27-17, was not indicative of how much Notre Dame really controlled this game. But Notre Dame is not like this, oh my gosh, Notre Dame's a good team. No, don't think that, okay? Because it is very likely that Indiana is realistically like maybe the 35th, 40th, maybe best team in the country. I'm not talking about rankings. I'm talking about like actual best, where they actually are. Notre Dame, on the other hand, could also be maybe in the 20s. So the game was just not very entertaining. They definitely controlled just about every aspect, and that's about all I got. It was just so easy. It was really kind of a boring game to watch. It was really cool to see the atmosphere. That'd be the thing I'd say about all four of the college football playoff games that were in college stadiums. Was the atmospheres were pretty neat. I guess it would have been pretty cool to be actually in them. The only thing I would say is they need to be a little bit more like home games, and not so much like games in college stadiums, right? I mean, they actually need to be like, okay, the home team can have home team atmosphere, so that'd be the only thing I would say. But yeah, Notre Dame, Fighting Irish, I mean, they got it. I mean, it was easy. I wasn't high on Indiana. I'm not high on Notre Dame. I give Notre Dame almost no chance in their next game. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. The next one we had was Penn State and SMU. And this game was over really quick. There was 2 pick sixes. That was the first 2 scores of the game. There were first 2 scores were pick sixes by Penn State's defense. And that was all they needed, man. After that, it was just like full steam ahead, blitz, rush, and it was not a problem. That was probably the worst thing that could have happened for SMU. Was getting behind because Penn State had a really good defense. And so the fact that the defense scored while they were out there, I mean, just absolutely did not play into SMU having any shot in this game at all. You can see Penn State's quarterback, Penn State University quarterback, Aller, was 13 of 22 for 127 yards. Not really a big deal. That's a pretty pathetic performance. And they still had 38 points. So, yeah, I mean, the deal with this game was SMU sucked. We knew they were going to suck. They lost to Clemson, who's ranked 15, I believe. But the College Football Playoff Committee didn't want to punish them by kicking them out of the playoffs, which is stupid. So, I mean, it was pretty cool to see Indiana, SMU in the College Football Playoff. Some teams that haven't been in there and definitely not relevant. But man, they didn't. We've said that before. Like they weren't deserving at all. They weren't good enough, and we all knew that. I'll take those SEC teams that had 3 losses to SEC teams than those teams that played a bunch of scrubs in the Big Ten. It's literally SEC's world of college football. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, And that's about it. That's basically the college football landscape. Clemson, you can throw Clemson in there. Since we're talking about Clemson, Texas controlled this game. Make no mistakes about it. I mean, they did win by 14. I mean, it's a pretty good win. But when you're watching that game, Texas was controlling that game. The thing about the game was you could definitely see how much in this game the line of scrimmage was completely outclassed for Texas compared to Clemson. And Cade Klubnik, that dude's a baller. Very impressed watching him. I hadn't watched him all year. I've heard some things, but he's good. He's good, and he's going to be really good next year. So, in saying that, I mean, he threw for 336, and they only got 24 points. Now, Texas did have some really good stands in the goal line area, so it wasn't like, Clemson wasn't doing good. It was just they missed on capitalizing some key points and things like that. So, Texas definitely showed the class of just having a much better line of scrimmage game. It was very apparent, especially that goal line situation there in the fourth quarter that really kind of sealed it. Because once they got the ball back, or Texas got the ball back, I mean, there was like 8 minutes left in the game, and Texas just ran the ball and got first downs and ran out the clock. 8 minutes, man. That's crazy. That's pretty tough to do. But yeah, press was Klubnik. Ewers had a pretty good game. There was one throw on a third down that he should have hit there in the fourth. That probably would have been more, or third, and that would have been a little bit more of a sealer if he would have hit that. Other than that, man, I mean, that Texas did just really good in all aspects of the game. Klubnik just did a really good job throwing the ball. Anyways, Texas, they look pretty good. And then the final game, which wound up being a huge dud. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that one. This Ohio State could perhaps possibly be the scariest team in the college football playoff, right? What we saw Saturday night with Tennessee, Ohio State, but what we saw with Ohio State in that game, that was the team that I think everybody thought we were going to see all year. But ever since that loss to Oregon, that 1-point loss to Oregon at Oregon, it was like Ohio State just kind of been coasting, not really dominating, not really being the team that a lot of people thought they were supposed to be or going to be. And that, not the loss to Michigan, I don't think that's what did it. It wasn't the loss to Michigan at Ohio State. It was when Michigan was out on the field and we all saw it, tried to plant the flag. They tried to plant the flag on the field, and you saw it, the Ohio State football players come over. There's a scrum, pepper sprays getting used by police officers. Oh, and by the way, Ohio State, and you still have no class, Ohio State, because before the game, you're over there, your football team's over there intimidating Tennessee as they're walking into the tunnel or trying to intimidate them. I wouldn't have been intimidated by a team that lost to Michigan, but they're over there taunting them as Tennessee volunteer football team is going into the tunnel. It's like, y'all have no class, man. Y'all have no class at all. But the flag planting for Michigan, from that moment on, you saw more fight out of Ohio State. They went to the midfield. They tried to scrum it up with Michigan. They tried to intimidate Tennessee before the game, and they straight volunteered them to walk right on out of that stadium early. That game was handled. Every aspect of that game, Ohio State won, and that was the team that a lot of people were expecting to see. So obviously they're going to have a big one their next game. That'll be a big one. But that was the game. That was the team that a lot of people were expecting to see out of Ohio State. And now that they are showing that, I have Ohio State as probably the most dangerous team in this college football playoff. If they continue to play like that. Like they are awakened that this is their opportunity. And it's pretty cool for the seniors. I will say that it's pretty cool for the seniors. They missed that opportunity to go out with a win on the home field against Michigan, but they got the redemption because they got the host of Volunteers, and they got the redemption there. So they got to actually go out with their last game in their stadium with a win. Cool. Good for them. Now, on to the next round, the quarterfinals. The first game will be the Fiesta Bowl, will be December 31st. The next game, the next 3 games will actually all be on January 1st, New Year's Day. You will have Texas, Arizona State, Ohio State, Oregon, then at 4. And then the nightcap will be Notre Dame, Georgia. So I'll start here with Penn State, Boise State, December 31st. Okay, so this game, and I know Penn State's probably going to be heavy favorites. I will give the one thing that matters to me about this game. Is Boise State able to run the ball against Penn State? If they can effectively run the ball, if they can effectively get Ashton Gentry, if they can effectively get down the field against the Penn State defense, they might have a shot. And I would say most importantly is, can they effectively just run the ball? And if they can, I'd give them a shot. If they can't, then I wouldn't give them a shot. The other thing I would say is if Penn State gets out to an early lead like they did against SMU, I would also give Boise State very little chance to come back against Penn State, because right there, you're going to have to fight back against that Penn State defense. That Penn State defense is good. I don't give much I don't have much confidence for Penn State offense to come back, but if you're down early against that Penn State defense, I don't have much confidence in some of these teams that don't have the weapons to do that. So that would be the only thing I'll say. That would be the only thing that's going to determine that game for me. And since I think that's just such a limited weapons for Boise State, I would go with Penn State here as well. And that's the only thing. It's going to come down to a lot from the O-line for Boise State, and can they get the blocks on the Penn State defense? I don't know. I just don't think so. I really don't. I'm not going to say that they're going to get boat raced out of the game, because Penn State's offense isn't all that great. So as long as you're not making really dumb mistakes, Boise State, and getting like pick sixes or fumble sixes or sack fumbles or anything like that, not giving all that stuff up, I think you probably have a shot in this game. I'm really kind of intrigued to see how well Boise State holds up in this game, but I think it's going to come down to Boise State running the ball effectively or not. That's where I'm at with this game. All right, the next game will be my Texas Longhorns and Arizona State. Oh boy. The thing I'm probably most looking forward to in this game is hearing Cam Scadaboo's name called a lot, because I think that is probably one of the best names in college football right now. Scadaboo, it's just great. I don't really know. I don't really know how much of strong passing attack I guess Arizona State has. I've heard a lot about Scadaboo. He's a big guy. He's a power back, and that's probably what you kind of need when you're going against some big boys, a big boy offense or a big boy defense. And so that'd be about the only thing I'd say. This game might just be one of those that who comes down, who has the less mistakes. That might be the biggest part of it. Wisner probably still be a go. Texas had some injuries against their game in Clemson. Seems like they're all good, like no injuries that are keeping some of those players out. I believe Williams had an MRI done on his knee, and it came back negative. So that's positive, which I hate doctor lingo like that. Basically, he doesn't have a torn ACL, they said it was very positive. They were like, "Oh, okay, that's great." So it sounds like some of the guys that went out in that Texas Clemson game, they're going to be good to go. In the playoffs, don't know if they're going to be playing in this game. I think it's going to come down to maybe some situations if they can get their stability back and strength and whatnot. But Arizona State, I have a hard time seeing how they win this game. Texas does have a really good defense. So, said that one before so many times. Quinn Ewers is really good at not turning the ball over so much. He did have one pick in that Clemson game, but it bounced off the receiver's chest, which that was more on the receiver than anything else. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing this game. I mean, I'm going to take the Texas Longhorns. I just don't see how Arizona State has the weapons to kind of keep up with Texas. That's just my opinion. And the other part of it is, do they have the offense and defensive line to kind of hold up with Texas as well? I don't see it. I just don't see it. The next one will be a rematch, Ohio State, Oregon, which was probably one of the most important games of the year. And, you know, the team that I think might be the hottest team now in college football playoffs, Ohio State Buckeyes, man. Which if I saw, yeah, currently the betting spread is favored Ohio State. Yeah, crazy. I guess the number one team who's been off since the Big Ten championship game. But this is going to be such a good game. I think Ohio State's going to be definitely ready to go for it. And oh man, this is if they are fully awakened like what we saw them put on display against Tennessee, I would take the Buckeyes. And a big reason is when they played at Eugene, at Oregon, they only lost by a point. Now they're playing on a neutral site. I'll take Ohio State. But man, there's going to be this would be a great game. This is going to be a great game. This will be the best game of that weekend out of these four. This is going to be fantastic. I am really jacked to see this one. I think it could go either way. I'll take Ohio State, believing that they are awakened. That's the only thing I'll say. Jeremiah Smith is absolutely phenomenal. He's the best wide receiver in the country, and he's a freshman. I look forward to just watching his career. I mean, he is amazing. Damn amazing. I love watching that dude play. That guy's so good. So, yeah, this game's going to be a fun one to watch. It really is a coin toss. But I'll take Ohio State. I'll take Ohio State. Just in that belief of they are awakened and they barely lost last time when they played at Oregon. The last game of the quarterfinal round will be between Notre Dame and Georgia. And Georgia is an underdog, which is absolutely fantastically, don't know why. This is weird. So the betting spread actually has favored Georgia, but the matchup predictor, ESPN Analytics, actually has favored Notre Dame. Someone had mentioned that the AI, or, I guess the analytics was picking Notre Dame. And I'm like, that's why it's artificial intelligence and not actual intelligence. I would be surprised if Notre Dame scores more than 6 points on Georgia. And I mean offensive 6 points, not fumble, pick six, anything like that. So I would take Georgia easily. I don't give any credence to Notre Dame. I give none. I'll take Georgia and those big linemen that they have than over anything Notre Dame has easily. So I know Carson Beck is out. He is out for the playoffs. So it'll not be him. It'll be Stockton playing, who's a little bit more of a dual threat, run with the legs, a little bit more mobile. He did pretty good in that second half against Texas in the SEC championship game. Threw the ball pretty good. He had one mistake, was a pick out into the far side of the field. Horrible throw. He just kind of like chunked it over there, but didn't really notice that he had like no one over there except for one Texas defender, and that was the guy he threw it pretty much right at. So yeah, I don't have any confidence in Notre Dame coming out of this game with a win. I'll take Stockton. I don't care what the analytics say. I'll take Stockton. I'll take Stockton and Georgia Bulldogs, because Georgia Bulldogs, I mean, they'll probably just lean on the run game anyways. So is Notre Dame going to be able to size up with Georgia? No. This will be Notre Dame's toughest game all year, not even close. A&M was probably their most physical game of the year. This will be their most physical and toughest game. And they're not going to be ready for it. Not at all. So yeah, give me Georgia, and that would move on to then the semifinals. Have a great Merry Christmas. see you after the new year.